There are a number of factors that can impact the farmland market. We now get an update on the latest outlook as we check in with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers. Our good friend Dennis Reyman joins us from his region. Dennis, always a pleasure. Good to see you. In your last appearance, I do believe that you called the land market in western Iowa about steady on lighter volume. Any notable change since then?
Well, hi, Suzanne. Nice to be on with you again. And yeah, I believe that was about a month ago I was on and reported that. And I would say not a notable change. It does continue to be fairly strong, steady market. You see those occasional sales that are perhaps on the stronger side. You can also counter that with a few sales that might be on the lighter side, but usually the lesser quality will show the lighter results quicker, comparatively lighter. They're always cheaper, but also comparatively cheaper. So steady volume with what we had before, and this time of the year being the lesser volume, and it'll decrease as we go into April and May as well. Then pick up again starting in June.
Well, we know that you're calling from Iowa. I know your firm also does work in South Dakota. What are you seeing in that land market?
Yeah, we're about an hour from the South Dakota border where our office is. Of course, we work all the way over to the South Dakota border and then also into South Dakota, southeastern part mainly. And that's a similar market, but also with some notable differences. And over time, as you go west, you get less rainfall, although some years you wonder if that's really true. And so comparatively lesser, lower land values, but not by that much. When I look at the high value land that we track, and we try to track it the same way in South Dakota as we do in Iowa, you still see, five figures, 10 to 15 or $17,000 an acre on the good land is very common. That's where that'll run. The average, I ran the average over the last 3 years for both our area of Iowa and our area of South Dakota, and a little over 11,000 was the average on the South Dakota land. A little over 14 was the average on the similar type of Iowa land using same type of parameters.
So very similar in regards to price-wise, but demand, is it just as strong there in the southeastern South Dakota area?
Well, I believe demand would be similar. Yeah, it's strong demand both sides of the Big Sioux River, which divides the two states. But the thing that's notable is a lot less supply. So when I looked at it as the number of sales per county of the counties that we're paying attention to is there's over 2 times as many offerings or sales per county that met our parameters for what we're looking at. More than double the volume of sales in Iowa compared to South Dakota. So, when you're over there, you'll find sales certainly, but not the plethora that you do in Iowa.
That's interesting. Do you think it's because people just tend to hold on to their land there? It stays generational. Is that what you're thinking?
I believe that's some of it, and some of it is it's larger parcels. When you look at the size of transaction, there's not that much difference in the size of transaction because the acres that are involved are larger. So I believe that that does probably translate down to just more generational holding of land, and I believe this would compare back to years ago. I always note that when I go to South Dakota, I feel like I'm just stepping back a little bit on the calendar a few years. And so it is probably more similar to what we saw in Iowa, I don't know, 10 years back, 20 years back. But the reaction is just a little different in South Dakota. So it's a notable difference, but, certainly a lot of similarities.
Yeah, a little slower pace maybe too. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us. Always great information. Dennis Reyman with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers.